The case of the missing manuscript. In the heart of Victorian London, a dense fog hung heavy in the air, clinging to the cobblestone streets and obscuring the gas lamps that flickered weakly against the gloom. Inside a grand Gothic mansion, renowned historian Professor Finch was found dead, his study ransacked, and a priceless historical manuscript vanished. Scotland Yard's Inspector Davies, a sharp-eyed detective with a reputation for solving the unsolvable, arrived at the scene. The mansion, shrouded in mist, seemed to hold its breath, concealing secrets within its vast halls and gardens. The professor's distraught daughter, Miss Eleanor Finch, a woman of auburn hair and determined spirit, pleaded with the inspector to find her father's killer and recover the missing manuscript. As Inspector Davies delved deeper into the investigation, he uncovered a web of historical secrets, rivalries within the academic circle, and whispers of a hidden society obsessed with the manuscript's power. Each clue led him further into the labyrinthine corridors of history, where the past held the key to unlocking the present mystery. Intrigued, Inspector Davies began his inquiries with the professor's colleagues at the Royal Historical Society. Dr. Silas Blackwood, a man with a severe demeanor and a known professional rivalry with Professor Finch, expressed his shock at the news, but his eyes held a flicker that the inspector couldn't quite decipher. "A terrible loss," Blackwood stated stiffly. His work on the Tudor period was comprehensive. Next, Davies spoke with Lord Harrington, a wealthy patron of the Society and an avid collector of historical artifacts. Lord Harrington spoke of Professor Finch's recent discovery, a manuscript rumored to contain secrets that could rewrite the history of the English Reformation. The professor was beside himself with excitement, Lord Harrington recounted, his voice tinged with a hint of envy. He believed it held the lost correspondence of key figures, revealing the true motivations behind the break with Rome. Miss Finch, ever present and observant, offered her own insights. "My father had become increasingly secretive in the weeks leading up to his death," she revealed, her brow furrowed with concern. "He mentioned receiving anonymous letters, cryptic warnings about his research. He suspected someone wanted the manuscript silenced." Days turned into nights as Inspector Davies meticulously pieced together the fragments of the puzzle. He examined the ransacked study, noting the precise way certain books had been moved, suggesting a deliberate search rather than a chaotic act of violence. He discovered faint traces of a rare type of ink, one used in the 16th century, near the empty space where the manuscript had been kept. Following this clue, Davies visited antique bookshops and rare document dealers across London. In a dimly lit shop in a forgotten alley, he found an old ledger with a recent entry detailing the sale of 16th century ink to an unknown buyer. The description provided by the shopkeeper matched a known associate of a clandestine historical society, the Serpent Quill, rumored to deal in forbidden knowledge and lost artifacts. The Serpent Quill, Inspector Davies learned, believed that certain historical truths should remain hidden, fearing the disruption they could cause to the established order. Could Professor Finch's discovery have threatened their long-held secrets? Was his murder and the theft of the manuscript an act to protect their version of history? Inspector Davies felt a chill despite the stuffy London air. The Serpent Quill. The name slithered with a sense of hidden power and dangerous ideology. His next step was clear. He needed to infiltrate this clandestine society. Using his network of informants, Davies learned that the Serpent Quill held infrequent, highly secretive meetings in various historical locations across the city. The next gathering, he discovered, was scheduled to take place within the crypts beneath St. Bartholomew the Great, a medieval church with centuries of secrets buried within its stones. Under the guise of a wealthy antiquarian interested in joining their ranks, Davies managed to gain access to the crypts. The air was thick with the scent of damp earth and old stone. Candlelight flickered, casting long, dancing shadows on the assembled members, cloaked figures murmuring in hushed tones. At the center of the gathering, a figure in a hooded black robe held aloft a familiar-looking manuscript. The very manuscript Professor Finch had discovered. As the hooded figure began to speak, extolling the importance of preserving their carefully curated version of history, Davies recognized the voice. It was Dr. Silas Blackwood. Blackwood revealed that he was the leader of the Serpent Quill. He explained that Professor Finch's manuscript contained undeniable proof of a scandalous secret within the Tudor court, a revelation that Blackwood and his society believed would shatter the foundations of English heritage and cause irreparable social upheaval. He confessed to orchestrating the theft of the manuscript, though he vehemently denied murdering Professor Finch, claiming the professor's death was an unfortunate accident during the initial break-in. Just as Blackwood finished his confession, Miss Eleanor Finch, who had secretly followed Inspector Davies, stepped out of the shadows. Her eyes blazed with righteous fury. "You silenced my father for your twisted sense of order," she accused, her voice echoing through the ancient crypt. A tense standoff ensued. The members of the Serpent and Quill, initially shocked by the intrusion, began to close ranks around their leader. Inspector Davies knew he had to act quickly. Do you want to know more about this mystery? Like and subscribe. Inspector Davies knew that a direct confrontation in the cramped crypt could be dangerous. He decided to use the element of surprise. With a swift movement, he overturned a nearby table, sending candles and papers flying, creating a momentary distraction. As the cloaked figures recoiled, Davies lunged towards Blackwood, managing to disarm him and seize the manuscript. "This ends now," Davies declared, his voice echoing through the crypt. "The truth cannot be suppressed. Professor Finch died seeking it, and I will not let his sacrifice be in vain." He addressed the assembled members of the Serpent and Quill, his gaze sweeping across their faces. "You claim to protect history, but you do so by silencing it. Is this the legacy you wish to leave? A legacy of lies and hidden agendas?" Miss Finch, emboldened by Davies's actions, stepped forward. "My father dedicated his life to uncovering the past, not burying it. What right do you have to decide what the world should know?" The members of the society, shaken by the sudden turn of events and the impassioned pleas of Davies and Miss Finch, began to murmur amongst themselves. Some seemed to waver, their belief in Blackwood's ideology challenged. Others remained steadfast, their faces hidden in the shadows of their hoods. The standoff remained tense, the fate of the manuscript and the legacy of Professor Finch hanging in the balance. Do you want to know more about this mystery? Like and subscribe.